Hello, everyone. This is Mr. Buell back in today to talk to you about finding information on websites. So, this is part of our research project that we are doing. And in order to do this, we were talking about all the different places we can find our information from. Now, last time we were together, we talked about finding information from the databases. Now, the reason that we focus mainly on databases when doing research is because we want to find information that is trustworthy and reliable. Now, the reason we trust databases such as, say, PebbleGo or Britannica or Gale is because these are companies that mainly focus on information. They've been doing it for a while, and it's pretty much part of their business. It's their job to give us reliable information, and if they didn't, then they would not be as successful as they are. So, and plus, we teachers and professionals keep an eye on this stuff to make sure that it's something that will be trustworthy and useful for you. So that's a reason why we trust the databases mainly to get our information. Now, when we're there, not always our information is going to be able to be found on a database. Sometimes we might have to go into the websites in order to find that information. So, in order to do that, we need to be thinking critically about what is sort of websites are going to be useful and going to be reliable enough for us to get our information. So, today we're going to talk about a few things in order to figure out what is going to be reliable bits of information, and we will continue and talked about how we can put that information into our notes. So, the first thing I want to make sure we understand is when thinking about what sort of source we're going to use, one of the things we need to make sure is who has made the source, what's its purpose. Now, in order to highlight that, I'm going to take us to a website that probably many of us know, Wikipedia. Now, with Wikipedia, this is an information source that many people use, but when it comes to using it for professional or research or school research, this is not a reliable source. And the reason why is because right here, at the very top, it says this is the free encyclopedia that anyone can edit. Now, when they say anyone can edit, that means anyone, and especially people that you particularly don't know or what their credentials are. So, for all you know, it could be somebody who doesn't even know anything about the topic that you're searching for, or maybe their facts are incorrect. Very well, it could be one of your classmates, for all you know. But the point is, you don't know who it is, and you're not going to be able to reliably trust the source for all the information. So remember, think about who has made this source. That is one of the things that we need to make sure we understand. Another thing that you should think about is what sort of information is found. So let's take a look at some of the website links. So one of the ones we have here is Encyclopedia Britannica. Now, if you've been doing the research with the databases, you will know that we have a database that is also a Britannica as well. So that's one thing you can do. Check to see if it's a source that maybe is reliable in another place. In this case, it also includes that this has been the world standard in knowledge since 1768. Now, if they were not very good at their jobs, there's no way they would have lasted over hundreds of years to get to this point. So that is one other thing that could be used to help make sure it's trustworthy, see how long this might have been lasting. And again, maybe what date it was updated. So in this case, today in context, January 25th, 2021, it talks. So again, they try to keep this information up to date, much like their database. So, and of course, one of the things that you can make sure is you can also check the bottom to check the copyright date. So, again, 2021, Encyclopedia Britannica. Now, when it comes to the source that this database relies on. Now, unlike our database from before, it is going to be made by particular people, but in this case, it tells us who these people are and what their credentials are. So who are they and what qualifies them to give us this information. So in this case, for our research for turtles, reptiles, this one's written by George R. Zug, who is a curator for the Amphibians and Reptiles Division of the Natural History Museum for Natural History. And this is in the Smithsonian Institution, which is a very famous museum in Washington, D.C. So, again, if they didn't trust this person to be a part of a major popular museum, then they wouldn't be giving this information. So, because they know this stuff, this is their job, they would be qualified to give us information, especially on a reptile like a turtle. So, again, a good reliable source compared to Wikipedia, which is a source no one really knows. So, that's one thing to keep in mind. And again, you can check also throughout the article to see where the year is. And again, if you can't find it, then very likely it will be the current up-to-date year. Or, again, you can see article history. So, again, most of the time, the information to find your source information is either at the top or it's at the bottom of the page. So, another thing, so again, going back to our site here, National Geographic's Kids is another good site because, again, National Geographic has been around as long time as a magazine which gathers information about the natural world. So, that is something we could do as well. Now, one interesting one I found was ducksters. Now, initially, if you were to take a look at this, it might not look professional enough, but scrolling down to the bottom, I found that there are certain things that help me figure out. So again, it's up to date, and it's a product of Technological Solutions Incorporated, which I found is an actual company. So again, if you're not too sure, you can check to see if the company is a real place and it's something you can trust. Again, it might not look professional as some of the other ones, but if you do your homework and you check, you can see that it will be something that is usable. Now, one other thing before we get into the notes. Another site that I found that's a good example of things that you might want to check out or keep aware of if you're looking for something you trust is this website called DHMOorg. Now, looking at, there are a few things that might make you wary of it. So, just taking a look here, kind of feels a little off in some areas. For starters, this page is only half a page compared to other sites which use the entire full page. Feels like it's a little squished together. And some other things that we've been keeping an eye on. If you look down at the bottom, you'll see, one moment while I move this, is that, let's see, so while it says that the last update is January 25th, which was the day that I made this video, you'll note that it's also copyrighted by Tom Wade. Now, personally, I have no idea who this is, and it doesn't give us any way to help us figure out who that is. So that's one big red flag there. Some other things that you can keep in mind is that you can see a lot of advertisements all around in this site. So looking down here, there's a lot of like PayPal, things that encourage you to try and buy things, as well as advertisements. Those are some other things that you might want to keep an eye out for. Image of store. Username and password for some reason is just there. Not sure why. Again, it doesn't look very professional compared to some of the other ones. Now, looking at what DHMO is supposed to be, it focuses on the effects of it, especially like how it's in the Arctic and Antarctic ice caps, and it's nearly in every creek, stream, pond, river, and lake reservoir in the U.S. and around the world. So the information definitely sounds like it's credible or sounds like it could be a problem. But the thing is, if you look at another site, which we talked about before, if you look at another site to find out what DHMO really is, find a secondary source, and you'll find out it basically means H2O, or rather water. So it was giving true information, but the way they put it down, it made it sound like it was some sort of chemical that was going to be bad for the environment. So again, this is why we want to use multiple sources, because sometimes what you find in one source might be a little different in another, or maybe might have some information that wasn't there in another resource as well. So checking your information in other sources is definitely a tool that we can use to help make sure that we're getting the right information. All right, so anyway, you have there's lots of different websites that you can search out there. Remember that Google is just a search engine. It's not going to give you the information. It's going to take you to the sites that have the information. So anyway, when you do get information that you believe to be true and credible, make sure that you put it down in your note-taking graphic organizer. So remember, get as much information into the boxes as possible. So we have our first page here for database notes and second page for website notes. So remember, fill them out. If you need to squish it down, remember to make the text boxes smaller. And remember to include the title of the article, the author of the article, the year the article was made, and the link. So remember, the link, you just hit Control-C, and then in your links, you hit Control-V when you're at. So remember, make sure it's Control-C on the article. So I Control-C here if I was going to use this one, and then Control-V in my notes. Now, make sure you're getting all this information down because it will play an important part in the next step that we're going to do with our information. And we want to make sure we're getting as much information as possible for our material project, both for library and for your music class, because this is a project we're doing between both classes. Now remember, if you have any questions about this or need help finding a particular source of information, please let me know and we'll be happy to help you. All right, so we'll see you next time when we can continue on with our research project. Have a good day, everybody.